case you missed anything. My name is Shafali. I work for the Food Systems Leadership Network right here at Wallace Center. And we're really happy to have you join us for this first workshop in a three-part series on transforming towards more equity-centered food ecologies through the cultivation of presence, relationship, and stories. And so this is a series, like I mentioned, we'll have one every month for the summer, and it's designed to build upon each other. And we'll send out registration links for the second and third workshops in our email along with the recording. Today, we're really honored to have Reggie Hubbard from Active Peace Yoga with us today. Welcome, Reggie. And he's going to talk to us about tools and practices for radical presence and transformative change. And I want to introduce Elias in a minute. Elias has curated and facilitated this incredible workshop series, and he is a recipient of one of our network activation grants. And so Network Activation Grant Program that FSLN hosts is meant to be an initiative to support our network members by opening up platforms to amplify their work and their creativity, create spaces for peer education around community care and equity building, and a way of developing pathways for deeper relationships between our network members and their communities. And so most of you know what FSLN is, but some of you might not. And so I'll go ahead and just give you a little intro into who we are. Food Systems Leadership Network, you'll also hear us say FSLN, is a national peer learning community that develops programs to nourish spaces, resources, and relationships that support growing and mindful leadership in our collective food and agriculture work. Our focus is in building leadership capacity, technical understanding, and equity forward thinking within our community members, within our network, so that the members are better equipped to build communities of care in their regions. The work that we do is towards a vision of a more just and more equitable food ecology that supports well-being, good nourishment, and care for all of us. And in addition to our programming, one of the ways that we try to embody and reflect this vision is that we try to be mindful of the type of spaces that we're creating and how we show up. And one of the ways that we do that is we have a set of cultural practices. It says agreements, but they're really practices because we have to continue to work on them. And our network members have co-created a few of these practices, and I just wanted to share them with you. Ideally, we would be able to come together and everyone give input, and we can co-create these practices for ourselves in this particular space. But just to be mindful of time, I just wanted to give you the ones that we have now, and we can take a minute to just read them. And if there's a particular practice that you would like to introduce that isn't mentioned here, please feel free to put in the chat. Or if there's one that's resonating here with you particularly, feel free to also lift that up in the chat. So we'll just take a minute to take a look at these. I know one that's really resonating for me right now is just honoring and celebrating our collective wisdom. We do know so much within each other, and we do possess a lot of the solutions that we have, and sometimes we're made to forget that. But it's really nice to be in spaces like this to remember and be inspired by what each of us bring to this space. Yeah, and so thank you for that. I'm going to kick it off to Elias, who is the curator and facilitator of this series. He's going to introduce what we're doing today. Thanks, Elias.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Awesome. Thanks for being here. I'm Elias. I wear several hats, but my day job is a development manager at Fresh Approach. We're a Bay Area nonprofit that's working to connect farmers and communities through nourishing food. We do that in a lot of different ways. But you can head to freshapproach.org if you want to learn more about our work. I also have a master's of the environment and sustainable food systems, which is where I met the two guests that are going to be in our next two webinars, and they introduced me to Reggie. So I'm really grateful to share their wisdom with you throughout the next few months. And yeah, other things, I like to write, I like to meditate, I like to run, I like to walk, I like to DJ, and a bunch of other things. So just setting some context for this series and how this project came to be. We talked about the activation grants, which I'm really grateful for the Wallace Center to provide. I think it's a really great way to bring the Food Systems Leadership Network together and sort of talk about things both inside and outside of food systems work. So I've gotten really into meditation over the years and different spiritual practices, but I think that's what really that's allowed me to do is to examine the narratives and stories that not only that we tell ourselves, but that we tell ourselves collectively as a society, as a community, as a earth, as a human species, and how we interact with that which is around us. And something that I came across in grad school, thanks to Nicole, who's presenting in the next webinar, was the work of Donella Meadows and her work on places to intervene in a system. So a lot of us here want to shift systems, we want to change systems. And I'm just going to share some slides really quick. Here we go. She talks about places to intervene in a system for change. And one of the highest places to intervene for systems change, she calls paradigm shifts. And this really stuck with me when I first learned about it a few years ago. Donella writes, the shared idea in the minds of society, the great big unstated assumptions constitute that society's paradigm or the deepest set of beliefs about how the world works. For example, money measures something real and has real meaning. Therefore, people who are paid less are literally worth less. Growth is good. Nature is a stock of resources to be converted to human purposes. These are just a few of the paradigmatic assumptions of our current culture, all of which have utterly dumbfounded other cultures who thought them not the least bit obvious. And so her quote here, and this is what really stuck with me, is how quickly paradigms can shift if you interact with the right text, the right people, the right community. It can happen really quickly on the individual level, which I think happened for me with the people I was lucky enough to interact with during grad school. But Donella also talks about on the societal level, it's a lot harder because societies resist changes to their paradigm harder than they resist anything else. And so the question becomes, how do we change paradigms in societies? And Donella writes that in a nutshell, you keep pointing at the anomalies and failures in the old paradigm, and you keep coming yourself and loudly and with assurance from the new one. You insert people with the new paradigm in places of public visibility and power. You don't waste time with reactionaries. Rather, you work with active change agents and with the vast middle ground of people who are open-minded. And so that's really why I wanted to bring these three guests in this webinar series, because I want to share their wisdom with you all in the hopes that maybe a little light bulb goes off individually, but also that we can become those little hubs that can change our communities collectively as well. Got some waiting room. And then one more slide before we get into things. Even higher up on the leverage points in Donella Meadows' systems change is transcending paradigms. And she writes, there's yet one leverage point that is even higher than changing a paradigm. That is to keep oneself unattached in the arena of paradigms, to stay flexible, to realize that no paradigm is quote unquote true, that everyone, including the one that sweetly shapes your own worldview, is a tremendously limited understanding of an immense and amazing universe that is far beyond human comprehension. And so I think this really gets at the liberating nature of examining the stories that we tell ourselves, because once we realize that a lot of this stuff came from decisions we made individually and collectively, we're free to create new systems and relate to each other in new ways. And I think gathering together here can be either a first step towards that or another step on sort of an unending path towards trying to live in relationship and in balance, like we talked about at the start of this webinar. So what to expect from this 3-part series? It will be a series of tools, principles, interactions, practices that you can use to increase your overall well-being, collaborate more effectively and intentionally across sectors and contexts. And number 3, better align with the principles of presence, relationship, and narrative transformation to help build the equity-centered food systems that the FSLN envisions. I want to make a note that this is not a series on the type of mindfulness that just makes you more productive at work. I don't know if anyone in here has read the book McMindfulness, but it's about how sort of corporate America and sort of corporations all over the globe have sort of co-opted the mindfulness movement for, reducing stress and allowing people to sort of exist better within the system that we have. But whether it's Buddhist principles or other types of activism, they go way beyond just meditation. They go morals, ethics, and sort of a duty to engage in society. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about engaged Buddhism. So really being an activist along with your individual practice. So this is just a quick roadmap. Today we'll be talking with Reggie, tools and practices for radical presence and transformative change. And then next month in July, we have Nicole Savita, and we're going to talk about moving towards relationship in food systems work. And then in August, we're going to have story-based strategy and narrative transformation. And that's with Michelle Auerbach. So I've worked pretty closely with Nicole and Michelle as well. So I'm really excited to bring their ideas to this space too. And we're going to have a nice little sort of month cadence in between. So I'm going to follow up with some resources and follow up reading that you all can do in anticipation for the next one. And we can sort of bridge these all together. So today, a little bit of an agenda. We're going to talk about Reggie's experience as an activist, both before and after his yoga and meditation journey. We're going to put the lessons learned into practice in real time with everyone in this room. We're going to do some breakout rooms for reflection. We're going to have a bit of Q&A, and then we're going to have some closing remarks and a sound practice, which I'm very excited for. So let's get right to it. I'm going to introduce Reggie, and we can get right into things. So Reggie is a certified yoga and meditation teacher and the founder and the chief serving officer of Active Peace Yoga. Through disciplined practice, ruthless focus, and surrender to inner peace, he has adopted the yogic path, seeking to embody peace, fight for justice, and alleviate suffering for those who cross his path. Reggie teaches activists, labor unions, elected officials, and individuals from all walks of life, sharing techniques for growing peace and ease as a foundation, not an afterthought. He also advises yoga communities, yoga studios, teachers, and the broader wellness industry on the importance of diversity and inclusion, opening the practice to all, and eliminating exclusionary cultures and habits and getting to the heart of yoga, self-mastery, and loving service to alleviate suffering. His teaching practice is designed for all levels and lifestyles. The only thing required is an open mind. The focus of his teaching is to bring more peace and balance to activists and to guide the wellness community toward being more engaged, concerned citizens. Achieving this balance is how we catalyze transformative change. Reggie has held many senior strategic and logistical roles across a variety of fields, ranging from global marketing, digital and community organizing, government relations, international education, to presidential campaigning. He currently serves as a yoga and meditation teacher, political strategist, healthcare advocate, and thought leader through his work at Active Peace LLCI. He received a BA in philosophy from Yale University and an MBA in international strategy from the Vlerick, I hope I got that right, Business School in Belgium. So that's all from me, and I'll come back when we're doing some breakout rooms. But Reggie, all yours.
Thank you. And just for a so do we end at the top of the hour, or like what's the close off time?
We originally scheduled till 11:30,
Okay,
so
cool.
hour and 10 minutes from now. But I think we
Okay,
have the
cool.
rooms open for even longer than that.
Okay. Just asking because yeah, I just want to know what we're working with here. I don't like talking too much about myself. Like I really honor one of your principles that the wisdom is in the Sangha. Like I totally believe that. For those of you that don't know Sangha, it's sacred group basically is the easiest translation for me. But thank you for the introduction. Thank you all for being here. Uh-oh, word. Okay. The my question to each of you is before I dive into anything is could you please describe yourself in this moment as a meteorological phenomenon, right? So partly cloudy, or if you're feeling a little esoteric, I would even say cosmological phenomenon. I mean, we had the solstice this past week. It's Cancer season, you know what I mean? Like there's Cancer in terms of the zodiac sign, not any health conscious things here, but like describe yourself in the chat as a meteorological phenomenon or a cosmological or metaphysical experience, because often activists we think very linearly, and I'm just trying to bust all that out, you know what I mean? Because you're more than your job. We're more than cogs in an extractive system. We're supernatural beings having a human experience, right? So I want you to lean into your supernatural and less into the binary. All right, Kate, a little jet stream action, love it. So this is another transcendent paradigm shift. Like most people get into Zooms and talk forever. Now, like I gotta engage with you. So, and don't all y'all speak at once. Thanks. Okay, there we are. Coastal fog. Yeah. Tornado. What? Got it. Okay. Any earthquakes? Crescent moon. Love it. Waxing crescent moon. Shooting star. Waterfalls. Okay. Shout out to TLC. Cool. Well, thank you all for playing that with me. And I just want you to take notice of the different ways we described ourselves, right? Um, that's always important to mention when we talk about change making work, because we all are coming at this from a different.
Ooh, Reggie, you got muted.
You trying to tell me something?
Yeah, you got muted. You're all good.
Okay, right on. No, I mean, like by muting me, were you trying to tell me something? Okay, right on. So, one of the things I want us to think about as we step into this conversation together is that how we show up to the work matters. So, when we talk about radical presence, um, we are an interesting conglomeration of history, future, present, emotions. Like like the human experience is a melange that changes from day to day and time to time. I'm acutely aware of this because, as some of well, only Elias would know, like I'm in stroke recovery. Almost 3 months ago, I had a stroke. So I have a completely different paradigm shift on life. Like I thought I was maxed out and thinking life was a certain way, and then on April 1st, it totally switched. So I mentioned that A, because I believe in practicing radical vulnerability, and being honest about who I am and how I show up. But B, this experience has probably been the best thing to happen to my activism. And here's why. My energy is a very precious resource that I don't have a lot of right now. So I'm very judicious with how I spend my time. I encourage you, if you remember nothing else from this webinar or your interaction with me, remember how precious your energy is and that you ultimately decide how you invest that. So, how you choose to invest your finite resources of intellect and passion matter. So, if you invested in doom, if you invested in this shit'll never change, if you invested in woe is us, as Thich Nhat Hanh talks about, you're going to have the most flourishing woe is us forest that's ever imaginable. However, if you focus on possibility, if you focus on, I can't quite see it, but I believe it's still possible, if not me, we. Like, if you focus on that potential, and if you focus on meeting people where they are, even if you don't like it, the way that you can impact change exponentially increases, right? So, and I mean that from over the past 3 months, I've had to learn how to walk again. So my left leg was paralyzed and now it moves again. My girlfriend and my PT were like, "You're making amazing progress." I'm like, "I'm just happy to be alive." Right? Like, so I'm totally happy to be here. So I'm sorry if I'm missing the progress. Like, I don't take walking for granted anymore, right? Like every step is a miracle. So I mentioned all that to say how you show up, how you invest your energy, and how you keep your mind open to possibility is probably those are the most important aspects of your activist mindset ever. And what do I mean by that? One, I'm a black male yoga teacher. I'm 6'2", 300 pounds in a environment that has been co-opted by skinny, pale people that are half my size, right? So for me to even venture into this space is paradigm shifting, right? I don't call myself a yoga teacher. I'm a yogi that teaches, right? Like, this is my spiritual practice. Like, I practice the yamas and niyamas, the ethical observances, right? Like, I've taken vows to alleviate suffering as it crosses my path. So for me, this isn't like some fancy social club. And the other thing too is, like, I've been an activist longer than I've been a yoga person or yoga teacher or yogi. So for me, the fusion of these things is vitally important. The sequence that I'm going to share with you was created during the first impeachment of Donald Trump. Like, no one really cares about the word impeachment now, but I was one of the lead organizers and lead strategists on the impeachment case. When Rashida Tlaib stood in front of a camera, we didn't know cameras were in the room. When she's like, "We're going to go in and impeach that," we had 4 votes. We needed 216. And so I had to figure out a way as a strategist to push this along while also not burning myself out. At one point during the impeachment struggle, Ayanna Pressley came up to me. Some of you may know Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She came up to me one day and was like, "Brother, you're a healer. I need you to teach my staff. And could you do it by the end of this week? And you got 20 minutes to teach them." And I'm like, "It's Tuesday." Okay, so I came up with something that I'm going to teach you all. And it's not like I have the copyright over this, but this is like born and bred in activist cadence, right? For people who say, "I ain't got no time for this, like the world's on fire." Because the world's on fire, I would implore you to move a little bit slower, right? If you move quicker, you'll make mistakes, right? Like, if you move with directness, that's one thing. If you move in a hurry, you ain't helping nobody. You ain't helping nobody. And you might actually be spending the resources that I talked about, your energy and your passion. If you move too quickly, you're wasting these finite resources which could be better served. So I'll pause there and shift to the practices and tell a little bit more of my story now. So I want each of you probably spend days like this, right? This is what we've become as a culture. We've lost our necks. We've become a bit Tyrannosaurus Rex like. And do I look healthy right now? Right, I kind of look like the undead, right? So if you imagine sitting for hours like this, take a deep breath in this posture. You can't. Oh my gosh, where's my neck? Why does my forehead hurt? You know what I mean? If you've ever sat and thought, like, we do this for hours and wonder why we're not okay. So what I want you to do is the exact opposite of this. Have a neck and do something sassy with your shoulders, right? So if you want to be utilitarian about it, go for it. If you want to be like Beyonce and Nicki Minaj and that old school joint, Feeling Myself, that's always welcome too, because sass and activism go lovely. But spend 10 more seconds in your shoulders reminding yourself that these are ball and socket joints, not appendages to technology. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Notice how you feel. Some of you, your shoulders may be burning. Is there a spaciousness across the chest that is a new feeling? Breathe into that space. Can you feel your neck a little bit more? Notice how your shoulders are probably like, yo, what took you so long? Right? I've been waiting for this. Notice the dialogue that's happening between shoulder and brain. Take a deep inhale here. Exhale out the mouth. Bring palms together. Create friction in the palms like you got some tea, you know, like you can't wait. Not that I condone gossip, but I do believe in information sharing. So you got some tea that you want to spill, but instead of spilling the tea elsewhere, you take this heat and you do something kind for your face. Maybe it's the eyes, maybe it's the jaw, maybe it's a combination of the two. So give yourself 5 seconds of love and massage for the face. Then get back in there. Hands, friction. Maybe you even close the eyes and listen. What does this sound like? What does this feel like? Bring other senses online. Then take hands directly to the jaw. Woo! Right behind the ear. Open and close the jaw. Maybe the hands get in the back of the neck. Deep inhale. Exhale, clear. Last time this round, palms together. Notice how the hands are softer. Does this feel different? Notice how your face is probably like, wow. And then wherever the hands need to go, place them there. So rather than me tell you what to do you. Start feeling intuitively into what needs your tender touch. One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Presence yourself with the breath. Allow the eyes to soften or close. And notice the other senses that are alive. Sense of touch. How does the sense of smell work into this? What are you hearing? Now that the eyes have been taken offline a bit, again, lean into your supernatural senses, right? The sixth sense comes when all 5 senses are in balance. We use our eyes too much. Switch the hands, different hand on the heart, different hand on the belly. Presence yourself with the rise and fall of the chest, the rise and fall of the abdomen. Release hands from the body. Open the eyes if they've closed. Welcome back. So I would like for you to tell me in the chat, how do you feel now? Thanks, Andrea. Right. Tell me how you feel. Because that was about 7 minutes. Nice. So when we talk about radical presence and radical transformation, can you imagine if every time you came into a bullshit situation, because as activists, bullshit seems to be the norm. Sorry for those of you who don't like cursing, you're gonna have to get some prayer beads or something because I keep it hella real. You know what I mean? So when you encounter a bullshit situation from this bright, calm space, what shifts? Everything. Everything. I remember when we were organizing for the first impeachment and people were like, this is impossible. I was like, oh, I got time. Right? You know what I mean? He's going to be in office like for a while. Like I got time to organize y'all. Right? And so we did it bit by bit because I was centered and focused. And what was once impossible, guess what happened 11 months later? We got him. So the changes that we seek externally, imagine if they come from this place. This is a fountain. This is always available to you. That Zoom meeting that went too long, where someone talked too much and you wish they to shut up, not that that ever happens in our worlds, but that Zoom meeting that went too long, you can cut off your camera and go like this. You don't have to sit here like this. You don't have to sit here, oh my gosh, imagine yourself stabbing yourself in the eye with a pen. You can take these basic things that we just did and restore yourself. Come to a sense of calm groundedness, radical presence, seeing with what's going on with you, and then proceed from this place. Okay, so thank you for sharing your shifts. Nice, Kate. Right. So the jet stream, that's cool. Right. So very relaxed. Would you care to do a little bit more? And how accessible was that? I didn't even ask you to leave your chair. Ah, Black Hippie knows what he's doing. Okay. Palms together, please. Interlace the fingers. And I want you to just make some, wrist circles, and do not judge yourself if all of a sudden it sounds like some nerds or some pop rocks or something like that, right? Just we're re-lubricating the wrist. The wrists sit like this for hours. This is disgusting, right? None of us are Steph Curry. Only Steph should be like this. You know what I mean? Or Caitlin Clark. That's it. Like we ain't ball players, so switch it up. And welcome welcome that as synovial fluid awakening in the joint. And since I did mention pop lock, y'all need to just go ahead and make this a little break dance. And if you want to get some shoulders and hips into it, that is so welcome. Now I want you to pause and take it the other way and laugh at yourself for how awkward this feels, or how awkward it might feel. Because that's the other thing about activist stuff, y'all. We get paid to make awkward, right? Like we get paid to disrupt. So disrupt with a little chuckle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shake the hands vigorously. But do not smack yourself in the face. That was more for me because this is like that's totally happened before. Y'all are off camera, so if you smack yourself in the face, you ain't gotta tell nobody. So 5 more seconds. Pause. How do your fingers feel? How do your wrists feel? Isn't this a much more delightful experience than this? So be present with the sense of your hands. Now take the fingers together and imagine like you're an amoeba, for those of you that remember high school biology, but just keep that supple sense. And maybe you do this, like maybe you do something, maybe you even close the eyes as you do this. But focus on something that is light and beautiful in the hands. Maybe you just are maybe you're voguing. I don't care. It's Pride Month. Pride life, or whatever. Strike a pose. There's nothing to it. Now, fingers together, press out. Now I want you to come in, breathe out. So in and out, round the back, chin to chest, heart open and close. So let's get the spine online. And some of you may want to go up and down. Some of you may want to come in and out, but 15 seconds of whatever's clever. But we're putting the fingers, the shoulders, the wrists, the spine, all the things that are this, we are giving motion, energy, space. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Give the shoulders a bit of a shimmy. One hand on heart, one hand on abdomen. Notice how you feel from the middle of your chest out to the tip of your fingers. From the middle of your chest up through the crown of your head. Notice the space that exists in the brain, the cerebral cortex, the heart space. And imagine if you approached your work from here, open-hearted, clear-sighted, and clear-minded. Woo! These systems don't stand a chance, because last time I checked, systems are only interested in their maintenance. Switch the hands, please. Allow the eyes to soften or close if they have not already. There's nothing to see. I want you to feel this. Feel the balance in the body. Be present with what the body's telling you, even if it's snarky. Release the hands, open the eyes. Welcome back. How do you feel now? And that was only 6 more minutes. For those of you that don't, there is a paradigm in activist worlds that talks about, I don't have time. You ain't got 13 minutes to feel this spacious. Who are you lying to besides yourself? You ain't lying to me. Yogi practices satya, truth. You ain't lying to me there. Okay. Now, third installment of this. Then we're going to break it down bit by bit. I want you to take palms together, press out and up. Then I want you to do something to one side, something to the other side. And then maybe the hands come apart. Maybe you begin to make this a little flowy experience, but allow the side body and the shoulders. Maybe you begin to do an interpretive dance. I don't really care. what I do care about is you sensing into this spaciousness, embodying the spaciousness, allowing the body to be free. Because if the body and the energy are free, your thoughts are free. And if body and energy and thoughts are free, your activism is hella sharp. It's razor sharp. You can cut through this bullshit. But if you perpetuate the paradigm of exhaustion and anxiety, you're going to run yourself into the ground, and that's what they want. So 10 more seconds of whatever is for the shoulders and the side body. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come to center. We've done all this. We've been neck adjacent. Now let's totally focus on the neck. So first, I want you to like stick your neck all the way out. Back. Almost as if you were a chicken or something and strutting. Use these muscles because we don't. And you can't relax what you don't engage. So go back and forth. Then maybe side to side. But in and out and around. 5 more seconds of a warm up. Now, please, chin to chest, right ear to right shoulder. Then maybe take left fingers outside of right side of head for gentle traction, but allow this area here to be stretched, and maybe you take the off hand and dance. Open and close the jaw. Deep inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. 1. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. 2. In through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. 3. Release the hand if you took it. Release neck to center. Other side. Left ear, right ear to right shoulder. Left ear to left shoulder, whatever. Place fingers on temple, then allow off hand to dance or chop gently, but do something for the jaw, the neck, from chin bone to neck bone. You want to get southern with it. Open and close the jaw. Let's breathe this out. Deep in through the nose. Exhale. 1. Deep in. 2. Deep in. 3. Chin to center. Take left arm wide, right arm wide, and I just want you to shimmy. So open-hearted playfulness for no other reason that you're alive. Juneteenth was last week. Pride is this month. We alive. We on this call, so just be as fabulous as you goddamn well want to be for 5 seconds. And I'm only asking you for 5 seconds, so if it hurts, just shine brighter. 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring palms together. Create friction in the palms. If you are wearing glasses, please remove those glasses and take heated, supple hands now and place them on the eyes. Yes, Lord. And as you gently massage the eyes, thank them for being present to doom scrolling social media. Thank them for all the work that they do, and maybe ask yourself if you can be a little bit more mindful of how you take care of them. Release, hands down the face. Woo. Welcome back. I'm putting myself to sleep. Right? So I'll pause again, if there are any questions or comments, and then we'll debrief this. You can go into some breakout rooms, and then I'll play out with some sound. But pause here. Don't be shy. If you don't want to use your words, put it in the chat. But any questions? How are you feeling? If you don't have words, that means I've done my job.
I have a question for you, Reggie.
Yeah, go for it.
You were working with legislative staff and all the organizing work.
Yeah.
Was there a quick reception to this type of stuff, or did it take?
Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned that because it was 20 minutes, right? And so like so the reason it was longer, it was actually probably about 25 or 30, but like it was longer there because I ran my mouth. But like it's a disruption, right? So yoga culture, wellness culture, mindfulness culture is like, oh, come to this place that's artificial and sit on this cushion and everything will be okay. We're gonna sit for an hour. What? Like, Hill staffers don't have an hour. Members of Congress don't have an hour. I got 5 good minutes. Like, what could you give me in 5 good minutes? And it kind of put me on my toes as a teacher because I was like, if I'm the teacher I claim to be, I give the students what they want in the time they got, as opposed to being like, oh, well, you're not serious about your wellness because you can only give me 15 minutes. So I took the 15, and then at the end, I was just like, because you know how activists can be hella snarky, I was just like, y'all ain't got 15 minutes to feel this lit? Please. Can't nobody give it, you know what I mean? So they were just like, oh, and then they were telling me, yeah, I was doing this thing, blah, 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 blah. And it's also super, I'm not like, so imagine yourself as a rooster and then kick your left, like, what? No, what do you even mean? It's accessible. It's balancing activities that you do, and it's adaptable to the lifestyle. And so because of those things, they were just like, I'm always going like this. And the other thing too, if I were just like, I'm going to introduce some Reiki to you, they'd be like, get the hell out of here with that hippie shit. But if I just say, rub your palms together, create friction, and then apply heat to your tired face, that's Reiki. But it's in their language. So to them, it's just like, oh man, I feel great. Yeah, you're using your chi to bring whatever. But like, I don't have to, because that's the other thing too, that I use their language. Like I'm an activist staffer dude, right? So I was able to take this esoteric stuff, bring it into our culture, and deliver.
Totally. Yeah, meeting folks where they're at.
Yeah. And not forcing you to do things my way. That's gross. It's not teaching.
And yes, seeing some stuff in the chat, we didn't even have to stand up. So you can
Right.
sit down. It's here for you.
Yeah, and someone said, and I want to echo this, like when I say welcome back, yeah, that's what this is. Everything that we did was a reset. When we go and go and go, and like either a line of thought or a stress pattern or those sorts of things, we're going so far away from home. Like home is here. Home's not out there. So when we do these things and come balance, radical presence, welcome back. Ooh, okay, I'm back home. I can take my levels down. I can be a little bit more at ease as opposed to, like nothing good comes from here except maybe like your doctor will like get a visit or something like that. But yeah. Simple, accessible movements. Yeah. And Shafali, to that point, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. Like to combat this it's this. To combat this, it's this. Like it's super simple, almost antithetical. Easy to do at the desk. Right on. It's cool. So, um, how about some breakout rooms?
Yeah, I can set those up.
And what I want folks to consider is, in the context of what we just shared, um, how easy were those exercises, and what, if not what we talked about, what will you do now that you know that this stuff is so easy to incorporate it into your life?
Awesome. We're going to share a little bit about maybe your own experience with this type of stuff in the past, and yeah, what you learned today.
Right.
And yeah, also maybe a little bit about your experience as an activist and how you think this could change the spaces that you're in.
Totally.
We got 15 people in here, so I'm gonna create like 4 breakout rooms. Pretty good. And we'll take about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back for some more sharing. Invites. See you in 10 minutes. See. Move release. Maybe at least stepped away.
So there's a way of putting Elise in the room. We don't see it.
I can join that one.
Okay.
So
I can do that too, Elias, if you want to stay.
I'm fine to go chat with people.
Yeah.
I'll just keep track of time. So,
Okay.
8 after.
I might join a room too.
All right, we'll give everyone a chance to come back from the breakout rooms. Hope your conversations were fruitful. We talked a lot about how, actually, I'll wait for everyone to get back. Do some quick share outs. If you have any thoughts that you want to put in the chat, you can use the chat as well. Amazing. Everyone's coming back. Wanted to give the opportunity for some quick share outs from the breakout rooms. We had a really nice chat in my room, but wanted to ask if any fun insights came up, anything that's standing out, anything you want to take into your own practice or professionally or in community moving forward.
Well, I want to add that in my room, we talked about how important it is to incorporate these exercises into our routine. I think, Reggie, when you said you don't have 13 minutes, it really resonated with me, because if it's a priority for me, then I should definitely not just find 13 minutes, but as much time as I feel is a priority for my own self. We were saying how when you're in a good place in your mind, that you're in a good place with your body, and then you can be more effective at work, be a better caretaker, and be able to just be a better person. So our room was discussing how important that is. So thank you so much.
Totally welcome.
Our group talked a little bit about how Reggie had said about like where you put your energy and the importance of that. I think that resonated with all of us, and just even if it's, full schedules or career changes, everyone can be more mindful of what they're putting their energy and efforts towards.
Definitely agree with that one. We talked a lot about too how leaders in this space that we admire, whether it be Reggie or other leaders that we've come across, that whose messages really pull people along with them, rather than like they really use language and actions and concepts that aren't meant to put them above, whether it's terminology or stuff that may seem complex to other people. We found that the best teachers really make the effort to like we said, meet folks where they're at and provide like a welcoming atmosphere, and not make you think like, oh my God, I have so much work to do to get to that level, but get excited about like taking that journey with that person. Awesome. We got some thumbs up. Great. Well, I just wanted to open up the floor for any questions that we have for Reggie about his experience as an activist, both inside and outside of food systems, the practices he uses, and just anything in general. If you have a question for one of your peers or the group, we'll take some questions now, and then we'll go into our closing phase. So.
Reggie, I have a question about if you have any practices around managing anger and grief, because I feel like those are two emotions that come up for activists, but they're not normally dealt with when they need to be.
Yeah, those are two of my practice areas, honestly, because I personally, for a host of reasons, have had to befriend my anger, right? So two things I would say about anger and grief. if you aren't grieving, then you're not alive, right? Like, grief is a natural part of the human experience. Being present with grief is not culturally accepted. So I do a lot of grief circles, I do a lot of grief sharing, but like, what are you really holding on to that you need to let go of, right? Like because grief, all grief wants is to be seen and heard, right? And if you press it away, it's still going to want to be seen and heard, right? So journaling is very good for that. Having post-mortem exercises, right? So like if you're part of a campaign, like, and there is a outcome that does not go the way that you like, being like, okay, so that totally fucking sucked, right? So like, can we just honor how shitty this is and breathe through it and talk about it, right? So normalizing the conversation as opposed to I'm fine. How are you fine? Like, everything that we poured our heart into got vetoed by the, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like, it's not possible that you're fine because you're not the Terminator. You know what I mean? Like, you're a human being. Of course you're upset. So normalizing the expression of those things, especially in an activist context, both anger and grief, I think, is an organizational practice that I would say. And I always ask anger or grief, what are you trying to tell me? You know, so anger comes up and I'm like, okay, anger, good to see you. What do I need to know? Okay, you know what I mean? So just rather than demonizing it, personifying it and giving it its space, right? Because I know in my activist work, right, like I would get pissed. Why? Because I'm a black dude in a country who kills black people for sport. So of course I'm pissed. You know what I mean? But when I befriended my anger, in my group, Kate talked about how I use humor in my delivery. Part of the reason I'm able to tell jokes is because like I'm me and my anger are good friends. You know, because I can joke about some stuff because I was like, this is patently absurd, right? So, Elias, is that still going on?
Say that again, Reggie. Sorry.
Elias sent me a note.
Oh,
No worries. But Shafali, did that answer your question?
that did. Thank you, Reggie, because I feel like it is stigmatized. And I feel like because of that, there's just weird shame or like just like the hiding away of that. And I just thank you for that. And I also think there's like there's ways when you move past those like initial difficult, like intense feelings, like you notice that there's like elements of like how love is expressed through grief and through anger and like moving towards that.
The one thing that I tell activists all the time is that it's okay to care. It's okay to be disappointed. It's what you do with the disappointment, though. Right? Does the disappointment deflate you and you never want to do this shit again? Right? That's a problem, right? You know what I mean? Is it instructive and maybe gives you a different way to take care of yourself or advocate? Or, I mean, one quick story I'll share about impeachment, because that's like the biggest activist organizing thing I've done on a massive scale. I've done a lot of like low key stuff, but on a massive scale, is that one time I was asked to brief then Speaker Pelosi, and they were like, Reggie, don't mention impeachment. We want you to talk about healthcare. And I'm like, please don't call on me, because the only thing I'm working on is immigration, DACA, and impeachment, right? I'm working on issues that start with the letter I. Like, I'm not working on healthcare. So the staff called on me, and I basically was just like, Madam Speaker, great to talk to you. With all due respect, I'm working on immigration and impeachment. As a matter of fact, we're going to drop 10 million signatures on your office tomorrow. Just thought you should know. I got a call afterwards from their staff, and they were just like, "We told you not to do this," and I was like, "I told you not to call on me." You know what I mean? Like, don't, like, you're not my boss. I'm not fucking scared of you. You know what I mean? So it was just this whole thing, and I was in the doghouse for 6 months. Was I disappointed? For sure. But guess what? When we organized enough and got the votes, and Nancy Pelosi called the impeachment inquiry, guess who got out of the doghouse quick? Guess who was one of the first calls they made?
Who showed up? Yeah.
Yeah, because I was consistently there.
Yeah.
And they knew that, right? Like, they knew that the same thing that got me in trouble was the thing that they needed once they had the votes. So I was disappointed. I was just like, you cowardly mother. You know, I was in this whole thing. It's like, oh, yet again, a black dude speaks the truth. You know, like, had this whole thing. But I didn't say any of that to them. I was kind of like, I believe I'm on the right side of history here. And when you get to where I'm at, I'm going to be as gracious as you weren't. And, you know, like I said, they were like, oh, hey, you know, and I think it was helpful. And some people even said that to me. They were like, you even showed grace when they treated you like shit. I'm like, totally. Because I know I'm right. Right? I know I'm right. Like, I knew y'all come around. Like, now that you're here, we got work to do. Like, I've been waiting for you. Let's go. As opposed to, why didn't you get here sooner? That helps no one. You know? Like, so, and I know, like, especially in, like, disruptive work, it's like, why? You always worry about the pace. When people be showing up, I'm like, hi, I've been waiting for you. I don't really say how long I've been waiting, because in some cases it's been like decades, but like, we've been waiting for you. Now that you're here, blah blah blah, let's go. Because like, that's how movements happen, as opposed to me sitting here like, you're late and you should have blah 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 blah. It took you forever to get here. I think about it this way: as long as it took someone to get here, they can leave quick. So, disappointment and me holding space for disappointment for myself, being honest about it and journal writing and calling friends and those sorts of things. When change came, I was able to be, okay, hi, you know, because I'd already worked out all my stuff. So,
Yeah, I think that really resonates with me and a lot of people in here because
it's super frustrating.
yeah, and we tend to see a lot of disagreements within circles that actually have so much in common or want to see the same thing in so many cases, or the same change. And a lot of the disagreements stem around whether someone believed something in the past or they didn't, you know, come around quick enough. And a lot of these practices are allow us to hold space for
Right.
those people. Because we were once one of those people. We
No,
all.
that's exactly right. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't want to be a part of a movement that resembles the Inquisition. You didn't do this way. Yo, I did it my way. I'm sorry. Like, I'm a unique individual having a rough experience. This, you know, like, I'm here though. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause another practice, to your point, Shafali, it's not about grief or anger, but it's about community building. Is like, when things start to dust up, I'm like, so, but what do we agree on though? Where do we agree? Like, we may disagree here. Like, we've been talking about that shit for years, but like, where do we agree? And can we agree to work that? You know, like, where we do agree, can we work there? Because we clearly can't work here, right? So just presencing these disagreements as opposed to letting them fester, I think, is another act of radical presence. Just being like, look, we've been having the same argument and it ain't doing nothing but pissing me off like it's been pissing me off for years. So, like, can we table this energy? Why am I investing my energy in this paradigm? Put it to the side. Where we do agree, can we invest our energy there, then move forward, and then celebrate that victory? And then we can revisit that, or maybe not. But, like, keeping that as an impediment to where you can move forward,
We do have a question from Kate in the
Yeah.
chat.
Okay.
Have you worked with folks who care, but who don't think about themselves as activists? Any stories about moving people into a place where advocacy doesn't sound so foreign or scary?
I mean, Kate, well, the one thing that I do is I remind people that activism is simply caring and taking action. It's not like having a bullhorn. Like sometimes the best activists I know are like healthcare advocates. So I'm in stroke recovery. I go back and forth to outpatient all the time. The people who stand next to the people in the wheelchair, that's activism, right? The people who advocate for the person who doesn't have their voice, that's activism. You showing kindness to a stranger in the market in a world that's gone cold, that's activism, right? Activism is at its heart is something that activates a different paradigm or that activates a different energy that like creates a different perspective that awakens a different consciousness. You know, to be yogic and spiritual about it, if it awakens a different level of consciousness, that's activism. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the bodhisattva level. It can be just like, oh, we're stuck in this shitty line at the grocery store together. How are you doing? Like, that is activism. Because I could sit here and do what our culture does and look at Instagram for the 13th time at this dumbass page that keeps coming up, or I can like engage in a knowing glance with you and a smile. That's activism, because the paradigm is to ignore and waste time. You know what I mean? So anything that creates that shift, you know, activism isn't always about like pointing fingers and talking shit. Like sometimes it's about just being kind in a world that's growing cold.
Absolutely. And I think that's, yeah, Kate, go ahead.
I was just gonna say amen.
And that's a paradigm shift in itself because, like Janelle Meadows talks about, growth is good being a paradigm that we hold on a large societal scale, that we need to shift. But another paradigm could be we don't use our phones in line at the grocery store. Like that's sort of like a cultural agreement that we can come to that has a really big impact if you've ever tried it. I don't always adhere to it, but I try to. So that could be one that we all try going forward today. Any other questions or comments before we move into our closing? All right. I'm still getting, I don't know if others are, but I'm still getting a little bit of feedback from the mic. I know we have some sound coming on the way, so I just wanted to make sure it sounds cool. Are other folks getting that, or is that just my laptop? Okay, maybe we're okay then.
It
All
may
right.
have been hot too, like I turned down the sense. So I want to thank y'all for this opportunity to share. Like it's you all are my occupational therapy for today, right? So like thank you for showing me that I still got it, right? Like because when one recovers from stroke injury, we don't know our energy from day to day. So that I have the stamina and the ability to do this. You know, thank you for being my OT for the day. Thank you for allowing me to share about something that I super care about, and that's helping activists like take care of themselves, and shift paradigm from I'm gonna kill myself and make change, which is stupid, to I'm going to do the best that I got with what I got today, and then whatever change avails itself, I will celebrate, right? Because the one thing I've learned in my activism and my spiritual practice and now my recovery is that, you know, and the quote that we looked at earlier is like the paradigm shifts that I've been able to experience have shown me that I am part of a magical universe that I can barely fathom. And if I do my part to be kind to myself and other people, to be present and aware of what's going on, to inject, whether it be humor or snark or like a random shimmy, or a smile in someone's life in a culture that's grown cold. These interventions, that radical presence and putting like some kindness or some new thought there, that's how you take down the system. Like enough of those little disruptions creates instability so that you can show up, consistently showing up as you are with grace, like in presence, is what people are looking for. Most people hate the systems they're a part of. They just don't know there's an alternative. But if you can represent the alternative, you're not only doing them a favor, you're doing you a favor, because you're creating the self-sustaining alternative that helps other people, that doesn't just suck life out of other people. So with that, what I'd like to do is an integral part of my healing journey is sound. So there are 14 of us here. I'm going to play this 14 times. And I want you to allow the eyes to soften and just let the ear pick up every note that you have, right? So rather than like permission to daydream, like permission to just float and have an opportunity to think about nothing other than that. Yeah? So 14 times in celebration of our time together and gratitude for the chance to be of service. Now place one hand on the heart, one hand on the abdomen. Feel how sound has leveled the mind in the same way our emotion has leveled the body. Let's take 2 deep breaths, then I yield the balance of my time. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Switch the palms. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. One last time for wiggles and giggles, friction in the palms. If you're wearing glasses, please remove the glasses. Place heated hands over the face and eyes. Then slowly bring the hands down. And enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Reggie. I'm just gonna share my screen one more time and remind everyone that we have a couple more sessions. So we're gonna follow up with a summary of today's session. This session was recorded as well, which is awesome. And some previews for the next 2 webinars where we're going to talk about moving toward relationship and food systems work with Nicole Savita. And we're going to really use the tools and practices that we learned about today to open ourselves up to these new concepts about being in relationship and organizing our systems in ways that really matter. And then we also have a 3rd session in August that we'll learn more about during the next one. other than that, thank you all so much. I'll be following up. And again, thank you so much to Reggie. He is a deep well of wisdom. And we thank you so much for joining us today.
My honor and pleasure. Thank you for having me be a part.
Thanks, Reggie, for your time and your energy and your brilliance. You're a joy, and spread that joy to all of us.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Have a great day. And as Elias says, we'll follow up with you with more information. Bye.